Bowie, and includes four of his best, plus Brent Hanson chats with David on the set of his forthcoming film, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence.
Welcome back from New Zealand.
Thank you very much.
We're here on the set at the Auckland railway station for part of the shooting of Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. So let's begin by talking about the movie. I'd look very interested in finding out how you actually became involved in this Japanese production.
I was approached to do it by Oshima, the director,
yes.
about 2.5 years ago, as a matter of fact. But Oshi, as I call him, do forgive me, Oshima, has had some great controversial troubles in Japan over the last few years and wasn't really able to pull much together until this year when he's just won his court case over the last film he made in the realm of the senses. But he knew he was going to do this one, so he got stuck into it.
And he's had you in mind for quite a while.
Yeah,
yes.
and he came to New York, and then he came back and saw me in Elephant Man the other year. And we've been committed to each other, to the project, since that time.
Sure. Your particular role is what?
I play the part of an English-educated New Zealand major called Jack Selliers, who is one of the sub-heroes of the plot. So it's kind of a psychological war drama.
David, you're a veteran of quite a few movies now. How do you feel about playing parts that other people have created?
I think that's very much the case, that it was already created in Elephant Man.
Yes.
There was a substantial skeleton for the character. But I think in movies it's very much to the actor's choice. He has a mire of options how he's going to portray the character. So I think it's they're fairly much self-invented. I found that very much so with Oshima's movie, because it gives you such a wide berth in what you want to do and how you want to portray the character. It's very modern cinema. One's allowed to really play around with the script and improvise. And so I think one invents the characters.
Yes, yes.
But on stage, my experience on stage is limited, of course. But The Elephant Man was very much dictated.
Yes, yes. I read that you became a little bored with having to play Merrick for such a long time.
Yes.
Is that an advantage in a film, the fact that you can play a part? Obviously, it's then Brett and Celluloid which will play the part for you forever. And then on.
Maybe I've just got a short attention span, but well, I don't know. I think 6 months is a long time anyway. Every night to reinvent the character and try and plumb new depths of feeling out of him. It's almost nigh on impossible after a couple of months to not go back over old familiar ground, psychological ground. And then you start, when you start getting bored with the character, it's the worst thing that happens, because I think it shows. It must show.
Do you prefer playing parts in films as opposed to stage work? Obviously, it's not so akin to.
I think two things hold me for films: is that I have a far deeper interest in what happens behind the camera. So I'm sort of half there and half here. I like the process of filmmaking a lot. I enjoy watching how it's done. Great, obvious.
Yes, of course. I'm very interested also.
Pretentious ambitions in that direction.
Christiane F. is a movie that's been here recently, and that created quite a lot of buzz. Obviously, apart from the fact that.
How did that get received?
It's very well from what I could see from at least from
It's an extraordinarily depressing subject.
It certainly is. The thing that interests me, though, obviously in this part, for once you were actually a theme virtually in the movie. I mean, obviously a constant factor.
Yes.
That must have created a few hassles, obviously, having to come back and plant yourself in a theme somewhere.
Yeah, I was approached by the people who represented the writer, who's the young girl who now lives somewhere. I don't think I'd better say where she lives. Who the girl herself had been through those experiences. Was a drug addict at 13, heroin addict. Was living on the streets of Berlin, and I had been one of her favourite artists, so she sort of relied on my records and all that, and I felt very half flattered, half egotistical about it, and wondered which were the right reasons for doing the movie.
Yes.
But I think on the whole, it's the most anti-heroin movie I've come across ever.
Certainly is. You certainly come out.
Alarming statement against heroin.
Fine. Well, let's move on to just one other movie. Obviously, Cat People is the one that's been through here recently, and your song, of course, has gone to #1 and done particularly well.
Yeah.
The thing that interests me with this, though, is how you actually became involved with disco king Giorgio Moroder. That seems a very unlikely combination.
Well, that was sort of by the way. I first became involved with Paul Schrader, the director, who is one of my favourite screenwriters. He wrote Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, and he's a fantastic scriptwriter. And this was the second of his major projects he'd done. He did an American Gigolo some time ago.
That's obviously the tie with Moroder as well.
That's how it came through, yes. Moroder had been brought about then. And I saw the film, and I was very impressed at the night level it seems to have. It sort of works in a dream state. I don't think it should be taken in a realistic, literal level, the movie. It feels like the kind of thing that you go through at night. Everything it's a dream state thing.
Which is obviously the way the lyric content works.
Yeah, that's the way I took it lyrically.
Yes.
I hadn't met Moroder before, and it was interesting working with him.
The other collaboration recently was with Queen, of course, Under Pressure. That also seems a rather unusual combination.
It was. I'd not really met them before. They were working in a studio locally to me, and called me and asked me if I'd like to pop down to the studio and the inevitable jam. Yes. And it happened as a jam, and it just came out of that.
Do you feel that these sort of collaborations give you a chance to actually move into another slightly different area of, say, perhaps the pop market again, as opposed to...
It just makes me think I ought to write more. I mean, the jams always come about when I haven't been writing much, and I get a bit twitchy, and I think, I play some music with somebody, and I go and play it, and I think, I should be doing this on my own.
Okay, let's move from the sort of the world of movies and move to... it was reported a little while ago that you'd contemplated making a pin-ups too.
Yeah, yes,
and you actually said that you had 5 songs, but you never, the piece that I read, you never actually said what they were. I'm very interested to know what exactly they were.
Would you? Didn't the paper say what they were?
No,
didn't they make up their own titles?
No.
Very surprising. Well, the only one I can think of offhand that I'm going to tell you is Keep Forgetting by Chuck Jackson. This goes back into late, middle 50s, I think. I don't know, I've always wanted to redo some of the things that I did with Iggy, and some of Iggy's things that he did before we met. Always wanted to do some Iggy things. Might do those. Yes. I've not felt the need to do a pin-ups thing recently.
Sure.
I'm rather excited about new material I'm doing at the moment.
Excellent.
For the next album.
Great. That is due fairly soon, is it?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm going to be as soon as I finish this thing, I shall go and record somewhere and put it together immediately. I really want to get back in the studio. It's been 2 years since I've been in a studio proper to do an album or anything.
With the new album, then, is it going to be along basically the same lines as the Scary Monsters? No, it's obviously something we have to wait and see.
Yes, it's no, I've got to be excited about anything that I go into the studio with, and it's in, as I said before, attention span is not the greatest, so I do tend to wander off pretty quickly after I've intimated an idea, some direction, and then I stop it.
You contemplating any new musicians for?
I think I will be working with quite a few new musicians. Again, I want to not bring anybody's name into it in case I don't work with them. That would be awfully embarrassing.
Of course. Something else akin to the albums, obviously, is the video which has come out, especially from Scary Monsters. Particularly interesting stuff. How much of a say do you have in the visual realisation of your music?
Well, I completely directed that one. It was my first real... That one and Fashion were my real sort of start in directing. It's a major reason why I'm doing movies, is to work more and more with directors to find and characterize my own approach to directing. I think it's quite easy to make a film with no style. I'm after a particular style. I started off with Brunel, which is very obvious on the Ashes to Ashes thing. It was like a 20s Dali Brunel movie.
Yes, it works particularly well.
For 3.5 minutes, yeah. It was making them go well for 90 minutes without losing interest.
We're not likely to see a new album sort of as a visual and a recorder.
I don't think so, no. I think... No, I really would like to concentrate on a very low-profile piece, nothing sort of very grandiose. It's, probably it would take place in England against a background that I know, and it would be about a marriage with children. Not something like Ordinary People, I wouldn't be surprised.
We hear an awful lot about the cut-up method of songwriting. Can you explain a little bit about how this actually works?
Yeah. It was introduced to me by Burroughs, William Burroughs, the American writer, in 1972, when I met him in London. I'd been very interested in his style of writing, which didn't work on a linear fashion, and it seemed to present the reader with a series of images, although ostensibly unconnected, made great sense in the subconscious. And I asked him how he did it. He said, well, very simple. He looks like a banker, Mr. Burroughs. And he just took 3 statements dealing with the same subject, cut them up, mixed up the words, and took out bits and pieces, put them together. And using that as strictly as a tool for writing, you can take imagery from those lines and the accidents that are produced and create some devastating psychological effects that really create an atmospheric condition without actually talking literally about the subject you want to talk about.
It's a sort of a shock effect as opposed to a built-up narrative.
Yes, and it has, again, that nighttime quality where the real meets the unreal. And that's an aspect of writing I've always admired in a lot of authors and pop writers, is the ability to keep things on a surreal and real level, so they have feet on earth and their heads in heaven, sort of thing. It's a twilight state, I think, that one goes for.
Something else I'm always interested in, we hear all sorts of rumours about what David Bowie does in his spare time. What does David Bowie, when he's off the set or not in the recording studio, do?
Well, I don't fish or anything like that. I ski an awful lot.
Really?
I'm not a bad skier. I paint still, albeit slowly. I've been working on a portrait of Burroughs for 1.5 years now. It's had 17 backgrounds to my last count. I read. I do still spend a considerable amount of time writing, but less and less of it appears on record, so I'm getting far pickier about what I release, what I actually take into the studio.
What about the David Bowie autobiography, which seems to be much touted?
Oh, no, I don't think I'll ever do that. No, there are too many already.
Yes, too many biographies.
Too many autobiographies. Not mine, but
no, of course.
They have my name on the cover.
They're interested in finding out what the first record that David Bowie ever bought. That's hit you.
The first record that I ever bought or had bought for me.
Well, you can give me both if you like.
The one I had bought for me was Over the Wings of a Dove by was it Luft? Ernest Luft?
Don't know.
Over the wings by an alto soprano. Then I bought Purple People Eater.
Purple People Eater?
Yes.
All right. Finally, David, before we leave, is there any chance of seeing David Bowie back here in New Zealand on tour?
No, it wasn't. It was Ape Call by Nervous Noxus. It was Ape Call by Ape Call Doodly-Abba. Do you know that one?
I certainly do, yes. It's a Sunday request type song, isn't it?
Ape Call by Nervous Noxus. That's the first one that really made me spend money. It's just how lightly I take music, isn't it? Sorry, what did you say? You asked me something else.
That's right. I'll start this next one again anyway. From here, David, you move what, back to America?
I shall definitely go back over that side, Europe and America, as the next period.
Is there a tour?
Until I get the record done.
Until the record's done. Is there a tour in the wind after that?
First one in 5 years, yes. Next year, quite definitely so.
Sure.
World tour.
World tour?
Yes.
Which could include New Zealand?
Would definitely.
Would definitely include New
hazard
Zealand.
of a doubt. Definitely include New Zealand.
Excellent.
After my last experiences here, I couldn't think of leaving it out. Quite the most wonderful concert that we had here.
David Bowie, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.